Hello, everyone. Happy
Hi.
Wednesday.
Good morning.
Good morning and good afternoon for those on the East Coast. So happy you are here with us live. Ooh, we are so excited. This is a super special Wisdom Wednesdays that you can see because we're together.
IRL, it's giving life.
Amazing. Well, I'm so happy that y'all are here live with us. For those of you joining us live, or for those of you listening to this recording after, I want to give you a special welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays, hosted by myself, Manuela Contreras, she, her, ella, and on behalf of Confuerza Experiences. So I want to welcome you to this space. This is our imperfect space for us to normalize conversations about our purpose, our drive, our workplace, and how we center our preserving our well-being along this journey, how we can engage in these nurturing conversations with social impact leaders, social justice leaders that deeply care about making this world a little bit better for us, but also know the value of how we need to sustain ourselves along the way. So I'm really excited for y'all to be here with us live or once again listening to us. I want to start by taking a moment to just acknowledge that the space that we're in, we have the privilege to be together live, and this means that we wanted to honor the land of the Chahuya people, the Serrano people, and the Mojave tribes here in the Yucca Valley in California, which we're so grateful to be in. And in that space, we wanted to also acknowledge ourselves. And so I'm Manuela Contreras, as I shared, she, her, ella. I'm a Latina woman with caramel skin. I have brown, straight hair today. I just got these fun bangs, which they have been getting used to. I have my
Same.
square glasses. And as I shared before, I share the my mom's gifts that she shared me of accessories. So I have some gold earrings, some bracelets here. You can see some of my Con Fuerza, my Fuerza Fuerza tattoo. And we are sitting here on a blue chair with a white cream background and a bunch of little plants and rocks and beautiful books in Nicole's space. I'll let Nicole introduce herself as well.
All right, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Nicole Torres, and I am coming to you live from my healing space, my office. Do you want me to introduce myself or just do the visual? Okay,
Yeah.
so the visual description is I have wavy shoulder length hair. I am a Latina woman, and I have, I guess, pinkish, creamy skin, light skin Latina. And I have a floral jumpsuit. And let's see what else. I'm wearing glasses, and I have these awesome Bali turquoise earrings, and I have a little necklace. Yeah, and here we are looking fabulous. Oh my God, and my shoulder pads are kicking.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. So thank you all for being here. I invited Nicole Torres because she is not only a dear friend, but she has also supported me as I have been healing through my own burnout journey. And I know we've been talking so much about burnout, especially right now in this moment where burnout is so prevalent, and with everything that we feel we are taking on, it is really important for us to have a raw conversation about it. So I'm really excited for us to talk about, for you to share a bit of your wisdom about burnout with everyone else. And if y'all are live, obviously this is the first time we're doing this conversation in person. We have our beautiful mic here, but if y'all have any trouble hearing us or have any questions, please let us know. As always, you'll see there is a closed captioning button in LinkedIn on the right-hand side that you can click to also bring those captionings available if you have any questions or need that additional support to visually see what we are saying and sharing with y'all. Beautiful. So I wanted to share a little bit about myself too and ground us in this space. with Confuerza experiences, I, as a business strategy coach, as a facilitator, as an experience creator, as I like to say, I've really started Confuerza experiences so we can think differently about how we do the work that we love, how we support not only our community, but also ourselves, and why it's so important now more than ever to really center our well-being and how we do this work sustainably, because we need each other, y'all. We need each other to be in these spaces for a long time. And the only way to do that is to really take a moment to pause and think through how we do this work and who we are being while we're being this work. And so Nicole is here. We're going to, as always, we always start our conversations with doing a bit of grounding. For those of you, if this is your first time joining us from Nicole's community, or you just happen to see us here, we always like to start our sessions with a somatic practice, which are practices to not only connect to our mind, but to our body, to help regulate our nervous system. So we have a few that we've already done. Nicole is a certified somatic practitioner, so she's going to be able to guide us through a practice that you can take back to either your personal routine or to take back to your organizations. If you're a leader, this is a small practice that you can do to start a meeting or to just get grounded in your day as you're going back into your meeting. So Nicole, thank you for agreeing to share your practice with us. So we're going to just take a moment and I'll let you lead.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so it's the morning. We have our opportunity to drop into our space. So the way that I like to start is simply closing down the eyes and getting comfortable. We'll make sure that our feet are placed firmly on the ground, and just take a nice, slow, deep breath, breathing in through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. You want to purse your mouth like you're blowing up a balloon so that the air can come out slowly. And we want to just slow down our breathing. Breathing in and exhale slowly. Good. And then just gently start to bring your awareness to the soles of your feet. You can wiggle your toes if you'd like. Just grounding into our bodies and leaving the first part of our day at the door. So this could be yesterday, today, last week, but anything that's not going to serve you or support you in being present in this moment for this experience, we're just going to leave it to the side for a minute. Go ahead and take a deep breath and exhale. Good. And in your mind's eye, just envision yourself. See how you look today in your mind's eye, what you're wearing, how your hair is, what shoes you got on today. And just envision yourself landing in your space, almost as if you're calling back your energy and seeing it land physically, seeing it come down, sit in your chair or on the couch, wherever you're sitting. Take a deep breath here and exhale. Good. And then just start to notice your physical body. If there's anything in your physical body that's calling your attention or feeling and experiencing tension, what is needing your attention physically right now? Just notice where your mind is being pulled to. And then gently place a hand over that space and breathe into it. And just bringing your focus into that space that your hand is on, and take a deep breath in. And exhale from that space. And we're going to do that once more, breathing in. And exhale through that space. Good. Now you can drop your hand and just move your shoulders around. Move your body. Just give it a nice little stretch. We're still waking up. Or you're enjoying your lunch. All right. And then bow your head gently and just slowly start to flutter the eyelashes. And the eyelids are beginning to open. And keep looking down so that when you look down, you open your eyes and you see your own body. And then gently return back to your physical space. Take it all in. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, I feel so grounded.
I know, so do I. We were sharing a mirror in a bathroom and we're like, oh my gosh, getting ready. So here we are, grounded, calm in our space.
Yes, ready to chat. Oh, well, thank you so much, Nicole. I hope
You're
you all felt
welcome.
that supportive energy as I did. So let's get started with you. So excited to have you here.
Thank
So
you.
I love starting all of our conversations with you and your journey and really sharing a little bit about what brought you here, what got you to not only saying yes to this conversation, but to this time of being able to value well-being and how it's played a role in your professional life.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, first of all, just thanks for being here physically. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you for inviting me on the show. And we've done such amazing work together. And honestly, like my whole experience with burnout and my career, like, recovering perfectionist. Yeah, it just took my career became the only thing that defined me, the thing I worked the hardest on, and I just slowly started to lose myself in that space. And I was undiagnosed ADHD for most of my career, and I worked for the big name studios, and I was in production and animation and VFX. And for most of those years, I was undiagnosed and just really trying to like focus and stay on task. But my role actually was coordinator, production manager, production supervisor. So I was juggling a lot of things like the octopus hands, just everywhere. And I was good at that. I could do it because I think I could manage all the things in my mind at once. But when it came time to focus and like put it all down, it was really hard for me to do that. So I had to work harder and longer hours. And then when I would get into a hyper focus, I didn't want to lose that. So like if you don't know, like with ADHD, you hyper focus on things that, stimulate the brain and keep you engaged. And you can go down like this tunneled vision of just that. So you don't use the bathroom, you don't get up to drink water, you don't eat. And that's not healthy, obviously. And then on the other hand, if you're not engaged, if it's not creating that dopamine and that reward and activating the reward center in your brain, it's just kind of like you don't have it in you to do it. So there was a lot of like that catch up. And so when I was in one of those hyper focus moments, I didn't want to leave it. It's like I caught a really good wave and I wanted to ride that wave all the way to shore. So I would work over my hours, and I would justify it by I'm a slow riser and all of this. And that's not really true, because now as an entrepreneur, I wake up early and I enjoy my mornings versus getting into this rhythm that I didn't really want to do because I was already, it's such a very fast paced industry. So, I burned out twice, and then I decided at the end of my career, like, okay, I think I'm done. And I left Netflix in 2001. and love Netflix. I'm really glad that I got to work there at the end because it gave me I had just sent up such an amazing shout out to my production crews because the experience there was really, really amazing. And it was like a nice way to exit the industry in my career. But now, it's just, I get to make my own pathway to success. I get to work with my ADHD, and I want to help other people, specifically the BIPOC community and first gen folks, because being first gen it's a whole other system to navigate as well as being a person of color. So I really am passionate about that, and everything I learned, I want to teach people now so that they don't go through what I went through. And I learned everything after the fact. So I wasn't implementing all of this knowledge into my actual career. I was burned out. I left. I thought I was done. And I just didn't have any more to give. And yeah, that's kind of why I'm here and why I'm so passionate about this is
You lived it.
I
You
did live it.
experienced that, and you got on the other side. And something that I love about your story as you're sharing is that it took you not only to understand yourself and learn these things about yourself. Something you've taught me is that there's nothing wrong with us. We're not a problem to be fixed. What we have is we just need to understand how our brain works.
Yes.
And each one of our brain works differently, just as each one of our bodies works differently because of many reasons: trauma, lived experience, burnout, like so much. And so that healing cycle, I always talk about it on this call. Remember, I've told y'all healing is not linear, it's cyclical. This is who taught me that.
I need to get a frame for this, but yes, I found this in the wild, and it's not linear. It's very cyclical. And that's why burnout is a cycle, because the patterns that we live and that we, experience, like the way that we live our lives are going to like impact how we show up and how we burn out. And all of that information is also going to help us, like you said, understand our bodies and understand how our brain works. But we don't have the time. And that's the thing. It's like we have so many other things going on. It wasn't until after I took a break that I was like, oh, this is my natural rhythm. This is how my body needs to, like, this is how long I can stay in productivity, and this is how long I need to rest. But before, there was no rest. It was, grind, go home, eat something, and then do it all over again in the morning. And that's when, when you start to wake up and you're just like, I don't know if I could do this.
So, and respectfully, this is really important that I think you talked about. We think we don't have time. I want to name that. Yes. It's a lot of times we've normalized this way of working, of this grind, this hustle, this go, go, go. And we think that that's the only way to exist.
Yeah.
So it may feel as though we don't have time.
Yeah.
But time, just like everything in our life, is a choice of either we reclaim it and we choose to say, I can exist in this way and see the path forward, which is leading to burnout. Or, and hopefully if you're here with us, you might be ready, you take a moment to acknowledge this isn't how I want to work and I need to do something different. And this is where it starts. This is where the journey begins, because then this is where we get to learn and discover who we are, how our body works, how our brain works, and how we're not saying don't do the work. First of all, we all need to survive and have a job, and we all need to find a workplace. And many of you that are joining us that are called to this to Contreras community are folks that love what we do.
Yeah.
We are passionate. We are not just doing jobs that because it's a job. No, we love this work. And that is what sometimes makes it harder, because we want to do everything we possibly can to make this job incredible, or to excel, or to make the impact that we wish to see. And so it's not about giving up and not doing that work, but it's
Mhm.
about recognizing
Yeah.
that there's a different way of working.
Yes,
There's a different
exactly.
way of existing within this workplace.
Yes, thank you for naming that because, that was my experience too when I was, moving through my career. I knew what the next step was. I knew where I was going to go to succeed and to take that step in my career. And I didn't want that because, I was going to be a line producer or a producer, and every line producer is exhausted. It's a really demanding role. And I would see, my friends were like, I just cry in my car in the morning, or it's just like part of this culture of, yeah, it's really, really hard. And that was all of my like higher up. So I knew that was the next step for me. And I was like, I don't, if I'm feeling this way now as a supervisor and manager, like I just can't imagine. And I didn't want that. It wasn't like I want to get better at that. I just didn't want it. I just didn't want it. So I left. And I've had clients that, they've been like, I don't know, maybe I should leave my industry, and they lose passion for it. So that's, side tangent, like that industry wasn't my first choice. But for people who like know what they want to do, like my client, she loves that work. And since we've worked together, she's reclaimed her passion for it because she's created some space. And like you said, that time is a choice. When I said we don't have time, with the life that we've created, we don't have time with where we're focusing our energy, and our schedule structure does not allow for the time. But it's when we start to like go deep and look at, why are you doing this? Who are you serving? And is it something that is fulfilling you and your end goal, or is it like busy work, or are you, not having those boundaries that allows you to say no? Like, no, thank you. I don't have the capacity for that, or no, thank you. That's not where my vision is. Like being able to say no in certain spaces, or, not get so busy that you get stuck in that, like that frantic, like I got to do something. I'm doing this and I'm so busy, but it's not like intentionally moving you towards your end goal. And when I was in burnout, like pre-burnout phase, that's how it was for me, because you're just at a point, you reach such overwhelm where it's so much going on. It's so much going on that you don't have the energy or like the capacity to sit down and put everything in priority, because there's so many things that are due right now or due yesterday, or like you're behind on, that you're just like, you're putting out fires left and right, and then there's another fire starting later. But yeah, that's something that I love to help my clients construct together and build that path to sustainability and success, because I want my clients to succeed. I want to be successful. And yes, that means monetarily, that means being, more time freedom, having the opportunity to travel. Like we all want, certain things in our life. And part of that is redefining, like, what does success really mean? Is it achieving a specific role in your career, or is it a dollar amount, or is it something more internal, right? And that's what I've learned as well, is the way we measure success is really important. Like, how do you feel in your body when you talk about your job? If that like role or position is the success, standard, then how do you feel when you talk about it? And like, I remember it was so hard for me to be like, oh yeah, I work at Disney, or I work at Netflix, and people would be like, oh my God, that is so cool. And they would light up and they'd be like, that must be the most amazing job. And they would like gush over it. And yes, it's like, it's cool. And then we get swag and all of that. But in my body, I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, it is cool. It's like, I wasn't feeling that like joy and excitement and passion. Even though I was accomplishing these career goals that I had for myself. Like I was like driving by Warner Brothers or Netflix. I'd be like, I'm going to work there one day. I'm going to work there. And then I did.
And it didn't feel the same.
Yeah. It's like, it's there in the beginning where you're like, oh, and like you tell all your friends, you got the job, and you're excited. And then you get into the grind and you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
It's just, the system is, it's a machine, you know?
Oof. Yeah. And oof, I love that you're bringing this up. I had the privilege this weekend to be with Wendy Amara. She's my business strategy coach. And she had a beautiful retreat this weekend with Latina entrepreneurs. And we got to be in community with Latinas that have been in business for years, that have very successful businesses, that are millionaires, that have all of the accolades, right? Yes, we have, and we have so many of these beautiful Latina women that have achieved everything you're talking about, have gotten to that stage in their career that we thought was the stage that we wanted to be in.
We made it.
We made it.
We made it stage.
We made it. And you get there. And everyone shared the same experience. It wasn't the same when I did not know who I was, did I not know truly what was important to me. And so this is something I love that you're mentioning this, like how we are highlighting or how we elevate these certain roles or things, money, wealth, power, that we feel as though we need to achieve to fulfill these goals in our lives. But so many people, once they get there, really, if you're not clear, if you don't have intention, if you don't have something else guiding you, it's not always going to answer that question, right? Or not going to fulfill that piece of yourself that you need. And so this is why we love the work we do, because we don't not only get to think about sustainably doing this work, but also we get to explore how we do this intentionally, how we are driven to make these big goals, because I'm not saying don't have big goals. We all need big goals and amazing.
Exactly.
But we do it in alignment, right? In alignment. I always talk about in alignment to our values, in alignment to ourselves. We have an engagement here. Maricruz, thank you so much. She said, I had that same sentiment. I liked what I did, but embodying the role / title, I felt so shame or embarrassment, or so much shame or embarrassment, or wasn't excited about what I was doing for a living.
Wow. My heart goes out to you, Maricruz. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that is super real. Yeah. And you know, I think it kind of will link up here, but because of a lot of the work and research that I've done around the mind and the brain and how our brains work, like, you know, in our nervous system, it's all one system, the brain and the spinal cord and all the little nerves and everything. Oopsie, sorry, babe. Our nervous system is hardwired for two things, and it's safety and connection. And when you're talking about alignment, that's like the concept is we want to be aligned. But how do we find out what we need to align to? And if we are able to find what makes us feel safe in our bodies and in our just like our energy and who we are as a person, as an individual, that's going to give you some really important information. If we can find out what helps us feel more connected, that's when we like unlock like the money, you know, it's like not the money, but like the money shot.
Abundance,
like
the abundance,
everything.
whatever
it's
you
like,
want to call in, the abundance of what you want to call in, if that's money, if that's connection, if that's community, if that's purpose, if that's impact.
If that's my slang talk, we're like, money, baby, it's money. But yeah, it's that connection and
Safety.
safety that if we can define those things, we can be aligned into what we are, pursuing.
Mhm.
And what's crazy is that, if we are not feeling safe in our career or in our
Mm.
workplace or in our relationship and our goals, even our goals, if we're
Mhm.
not like, oh yeah, like for example, if I say I want to be a celebrity,
Mm.
but I'm a private person and I'm
Mm.
like, I'm a little bit of an introvert, or, being a celebrity is the opposite of that. And
Mm.
let's say that I have like one press release and I'm like, I get this panic attack or whatever. My subconscious mind is saying, no, this is not safe to me. I don't like this. And you'll have this internal conflict where you want to be a celebrity, but the experience of it is not aligned.
Mm.
So your subconscious mind will come in and the negative self-talk. You'll prioritize everything else except
Mm.
for doing that audition tape, or everything else becomes more important than putting yourself in a position where your nervous system and your brain makes you like perceives the information and experience as dangerous. So
Mm.
this is a big thing that I worked on myself and with my clients, that we got to get to the part, that deep part, that's like, what about this that's a block? Everyone's like, I'm so blocked, I'm blocked at this, and something's blocking me and I don't know what it is. That's what I love working on, because if we can find out the fear and the safety at a subconscious level, not a conscious level, then we can start to like, dismantle the the negative self-talk, and then find ways to either realign to
Mhm.
something that's more well suited for you, that's like really making you feel successful, right? Because that's the thing.
Mm.
It's like, if I'm not feeling good in the pursuit of my success, it's going to be really hard to find that success, and like bring that in. So either we align to it, or we build new skills, and we
Mhm.
build we like, it's about safety, right? So if this, being in front, what was the example is like, being in a press release or something is terrifying me as an
Mhm.
introvert, then I'm going to hire or learn on YouTube, how to be a better speaker, how to
Mm.
be in public. I would join Toastmasters and I would
Mm.
practice delivering and being in front of people and speaking, right?
Mhm.
So I'm bringing in these tools so that my experience feels safer. And part of that
Mm.
is doing it with people who feel safe. And so then we're
Yeah.
getting people who are safe, building connection, and we're like, "Ooh,
Mm.
I'm in the zone," like this is what it is to be in alignment.
And what I hear, you're rewiring the
You're
brain.
rewrite,
You're
yeah.
rewiring the
You're
brain.
creating new neural
So
pathways of safety. And as you
exactly.
do that, the old neural pathways of danger, they're not as strong. So your safety becomes stronger. And that's why I'm obsessed with the brain and the nervous system, because we can change. We can
Mm.
change. Like, we are hardwired for change.
Oh,
And it doesn't have to be a struggle, and it doesn't have to be hard forever, which
oh,
I
I
was
love that.
living in that hard.
Yes.
And that's good.
Oh, this is so beautiful. There's two things that I want to call out that I love that you're talking about. One is the importance, once again, of knowing your nervous system, understanding how your body works. I love that you said we are hardwired for change. It's possible. We don't need to exist in this way.
Yes.
And when we learn to work with it, we can create the changes that we want. So
Yeah.
if you are deeply passionate about becoming an actress, becoming a CEO, leading your own foundation, you
Mhm.
can build those skills to do that. But this is where
Yeah.
our work connects, right? I believe this is possible. And
Mhm.
also I like to invite folks to take a step back and recognize, where are they choosing that place of where they want to go to from, By that I mean we have this belief, and society has shaped us to believe that there's only a few ways. For example, right? Let's say the celebrity person, they see that as a way to maybe reach a lot of people, to have this influence, to maybe connect with all these people and share their storytelling abilities out. Or they see themselves wanting to have the wealth to be able to make all this impact with their status out into the community. They see themselves in these space. So what has, as we grow up, which is why I have a strong, um, you know, strong belief in that we shouldn't be choosing our life path at 16 years old, because no one knows. Or if you are that young and you are having to choose what you want to do with your life, it's okay. No one knows what they want to do with their life at 16 years old. We're all figuring it out throughout the way. By that I mean, when we grow up, we only have a few positions we think are going to do the things that we want. We only have a teacher or a therapist or a doctor, or and so we confine ourselves to limit that is the only way that we can have impact, have wealth, have support, do make an impact in our community.
We're predefining how we're going to make the impact.
Exactly. So one part of it is knowing that whatever you want, you can make happen and you can change, because our body is able to do that. Beautiful. And also, I would invite us to think bigger, to think not limited, but limitless, to knowing that there are multiple ways of doing the thing that we want. And we don't have to say, for example, our purpose is to have influence and impact and call people in to see the world differently, so we can we can give voice to immigrants and folks that don't have their voice right now and aren't able to speak up for it. That's why you're teaching. There are so many ways to do that. And when we learn our strengths, when we learn how our body works and where we are, then we can find things that we can find a way to do that that's in alignment to that. So what you said, we don't have to work so hard. We don't have to always be working. I know we love to do that, and we feel that needs to be our norm as Latinos, as marginalized folks, as immigrants, as first gens. We're like, oh, it's just supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy. Like, we're just supposed to be working really hard. Hey, it's not supposed to be that hard. It's okay.
Yeah. And I think, that's a really great point. And it's something that I personally I really resonate with. And I think that idea of hard work is I speak for myself as a Latina. It's like in our culture, hard work and being, reliable and doing the job, it's part of the culture. And I think we embody that. Like, we're hard workers. We're hard. It's like badge, a pride.
Where, yes.
And yes, obviously, even in my entrepreneurial journey, I work hard, but I rest hard too. I work, it's like I work as hard, or I rest as hard as I work. And at the same time, I don't remember. I think it was one of those moments where it was like, why do bad things happen to good people? It was like one of those conversations. And it was also about money. And it's like, why do bad people get to have money and good people don't? And it's like, it was a reframe for me where I started, I got this perspective shift where the person I was talking to said, people who are wealthy, some people, they don't work hard. It's not labor intensive. It's so much more, right? And we can dive into this. It's a whole topic. But the idea that, okay, example, I've been trading crypto recently. I'm like a crypto bro now. No, kidding. But I've been learning about the stock market. I've been learning about how to analyze charts, and it's a whole different ball game. But I don't work hard to do that. But I could multiply my income pretty easily if I was skilled at that. So this concept of working hard feels hard. It feels like a grind. It feels challenging. And, you're up late, you're up early, you're rushing, you're doing all the meetings, and that's hard work, right? Like, how dedicated are you? That's hard work. And it's so much. So it's like redefining and aligning your hard work, like your abilities and your time, and getting more focused versus doing a lot of other things that may not be as supportive, and not neglecting going to the bathroom, eating, drinking water, like
Sleeping.
correct, resting. And like I always, when my clients are struggling and they're having those moments, I'm like, okay, did you
To
go
that
back to
six.
basics? Did you go back to basics? Like, did you check in with yourself? Have I eaten? When was the last time I drank some water? How did I sleep last night? It's like food, rest.
There's a
It's
great
so
acronym.
important. Oh,
If
yeah.
I can
Yeah,
share.
jump
I
in.
was just sharing with a client, HALT.
Oh, yeah.
HALT. So are you hungry?
Yeah.
Have you not eaten? Maybe that's where that feeling is coming from. Are you angry? Yeah, literally angry. So is there an emotion? Is there an anger within you that you, let's say, this was a really great example, and I'll put the link in our resource library that really talks and explains how this goes into, right? Let's say you are angry and you had a really rough day at work, and now you're starting to see a pattern how by having all these really difficult environments at work, now you start becoming really angry in other parts of your life. You start getting angry at home. You start getting angry with your friends, with your other social circles outside of work. So if you're angry, what you need to do is take a moment to pause and find out how to release that anger before, so you can transition out of that emotion into your next phase, so you don't stay in that place, right? So it's H is hunger, A is hanger, L is anger.
You said hanger, and it was like, yes, hangry. It's funny that they're both together.
Anger. Thank you. First, my second language is English, so I always have to pronunciate. The third is loneliness, actually. So what are you?
Connection.
Maybe connection.
So what I'm hearing here is safety, anger, right? Because you're not being heard, your needs aren't being met. And then the loneliness is disconnection and connection. Like you're not
You need
feeling
a hug.
that.
You need a hug. Sometimes we just need a hug.
Yeah,
and we're
straight
really
up.
just like, hey, can someone come over? Or maybe you're working from home a lot and you haven't taken the time to find connections and leave. I mean, I believe
that's part of my struggle because I'm at home, and the neurodivergence. It's like when I can get into that zone, I do struggle with that. So I have to set, like, I build in systems. I set little timers, and I set my calendar for a lunch break, or, like those things matter. I'm like, I need to go to my friend's house and see another human, and she has a new baby. So I love the cuteness.
Baby,
and
baby,
that's really, yes, really important.
Yeah. So loneliness is the third one. And then the last one is tired. Are you simply tired? Have you been on the grind, on the hustle, for so long that you have convinced yourself that you can exist with 2-3 hours of sleep? Let me tell you, that's a lie. You cannot exist with 2-3 hours of sleep. No one can.
And
it's not good for you.
Even one night of poor sleep will affect you.
Ripple.
It will affect you. So that's one of the worst things that we can do is not be mindful of our evening routine. And I'm a night owl, so it's a struggle, but I really try. I really try to, like, it's a whole thing. It's a whole system that I have to, like, put in place to make sure that I'm in bed at a reasonable hour, because I love what I do, so I can keep working.
Be up forever. Yeah, exactly. So that's a really great technique. If y'all have ever found, like, what I love about this technique, one, it forces you to pause and recognize and start recognizing what's happening in your body. Literally, halt. I love it. And also and I'll share briefly my experience with burnout. One of the biggest things that I learned about burnout when going through it, because I also experienced a really bad burnout crisis, which is what led me to have to stop. And the scariest part is that I knew maybe something mentally was happening, but it was when my body completely crashed, when I could not get out of bed, when I could not eat, I wasn't sleeping. My body physically completely gave out.
Yeah.
I had been tired, I had been stressed in the past, but this was a completely different experience to just being tired, to just being needing to sleep for a little bit. It was completely different.
That's
and what
the
helped
exhaustion.
Exactly. And what helped was starting to recognize and learn how to listen to my body, because I had never been taught that. I had been I had been taught to listen to my mind, to my heart, what was happening in my emotions.
Yes.
Oh, I'm recognizing I'm feeling sad or anxious, or I'm feeling, sad or maybe happy or angry. That's what I was thinking. But I didn't know what was actually how to listen to my body, which is what you taught me.
Right.
So
and I want to just in that whole like frame, the thing that with BIPOC communities and first gen communities, there is a lot of early childhood traumas and adverse experiences. So when I work with people in this community, working with the body is so important, because back to safety and connection, if we don't feel safe in our own body because of past experiences that tell us our body's not safe, or we can go on, but like that is so important, because we're disconnected, we're detached from our body. We don't want to be in our body. It's hard to be in our human experience. So we disassociate, we detach. And coming back to your body can be a scary thing for some people. And I just wanted to name that, because oh my gosh, hi Ellen, yay, oh my gosh, so we disassociate from our bodies, and coming back to our bodies can be it can be hard.
Scary,
It can be scary. It's like, no, this is not a safe space for me. This doesn't bring up good emotions or good feelings or good memories. So coming back to the body is essential to move forward and to understand that your body has needs. And that was my thing, is I didn't, I think my coach was like, well, what are your needs? What do you need? And I was like,
what is that?
What are my needs? And I never thought about it. And now knowing what I know and the work I do, it's just like, oh my God.
So basic.
It's literally called basic needs.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do I need?
Yeah.
What do I need? So anyways, I didn't mean to like fully
I love
interrupt,
that.
But yeah, I wanted
love
just
that.
to name that.
And I the reason why I brought it up, and I think you're talking to it, is I want to clearly name like what is really the difference between this, the exhaustion, the tired, and burnout. Because we're hearing burnout a lot. And I know this was the topic of our conversation, but I think this was all really relevant, because all of these things we're talking about recognizing our body, understanding why we do, is what we are talking about, why we do what we do, and why we're called to take on the roles and positions that we are, why we exist in this way as a culture, why we've normalized this hustle and this all of that is what leads to burnout. And so I'm curious, with your expertise, what is the difference between just being exhausted and tired and really entering this stage of burnout?
So I think that's a really important thing to name, because yes, like, and I don't want to detract from people's experience of being very, very tired and very exhausted. And like, oh my God, I'm so burned out. You could be feeling that, and you could be in the beginning stages of burnout, but to be truly burned out, like the way that the medical profession defines, and this is a medical thing. So this is why I say I'm a burnout prevention coach, because burnout is or prevention is way more attainable, and it's less expensive, and it will take less time than actual burnout recovery, because it does affect the body so intensely. And that's what you were probably experiencing. Like when, back in the day, I remember people were like, oh, I'm fried. My nerves are fried. My nerves are shot. I would remember hearing that and like, I'm fried. And it's this idea like our nervous system is actually so overstimulated that it like like it just freezes and it can't move forward, and it can't compute. Like our nervous system is essentially like a giant operating system. And
our techies.
I am very much techie. So no, like if we have a million tabs open on the laptop, is it the laptop that's the problem, or is it there's too many tabs open, right? And it starts to chug and you're like, oh, this thing's a piece of crap. And it's like, well, okay, so back to the actual burnout, exhaustion is like the first real thing that's going to define how you feel physically and what's happening in your body, because we're constantly releasing cortisol and adrenaline, and those are the chemicals that when we're in fight or flight and our sympathetic nervous system is activated, we're like poof, poof, we're like ready for action, we're ready to take on the challenges, like the fires at work, where you're just like, I got it, I got it, I got it. And sometimes you're just like a ninja and you're on top of it. But then more and more of that calls for more output of your adrenal system, your adrenaline, and the stress cortisol, right? So it keeps you moving. And that's the point is, in survival mode, we got to run from the bear. We don't want to get eaten by the bear. So we run or we fight, and we need that energy. We need that burst to keep us safe and keep us alive. But when we're in a professional world that everything is due yesterday, like I started in advertising and that was the joke, like it was due yesterday, and we're just like always behind. But
that does something to your nervous system.
And you're always like
you're always
like you're always trying to catch your breath, and you're always like, fuck, oh sorry, shoot, when is it going to let up a little bit? And like when we need that, back in the day, and like our Cro-Magnon ancestors, they'd like run, chase the thing, kill it, eat it, and then they would rest.
Right.
And so the other side of our nervous system that activates is the parasympathetic nervous system. And that is our rest and digest. So it's like, it's one nervous system, like a light switch. It goes on and off. So it's like on, fight or flight, run, get the thing, and then off. It's like, okay, now our body, our digestive system is starting to do its work, and all the energy goes into digesting our food. And that's why when we're stressed out, we have so many gut issues. And, it's like the gut and brain connection that everyone's talking about now. And, the microbiome. And it's like, why do you think that is such a topic right now? Because of stress. Because the more stressed we are, the more it's going to affect our inability to digest our food, process, and like, that's a whole thing. So that's the first part. It's this like extreme exhaustion, and those chemicals eventually run out, and we're not like it's gonna tap out, but we're depleting that. And it's much harder for those hormones to be released when they're constantly on. So, part of this is also like the way that we process and create dopamine, that risk reward factor of like, I accomplished this thing, and you're like, and you have this dopamine rush of I did it, and then you're like, okay. And it goes back down, and we're also like, straining that part of our brain chemistry. So when we don't have enough dopamine in our brains, that's where the depression comes from. That's where that lack of energy, like we need adrenaline and dopamine in our brains for us to physically move. And that's a big part of why, like, when you're moving towards burnout and you're exhausted and you're like, you feel like heavy, like a stone, and like you literally, when they're like, just get out of bed, and you feel like, I can't move. That is a lack, that depletion of dopamine and adrenaline and those chemicals, so you have to replenish, and that's where the rest comes in. And that's why our bodies are the ones that make us rest.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens.
Because it's a system. It's a system that's working. It's not like
shut down.
Yeah.
You're not shutting down. I'm shutting down.
Yeah. It's like the system isn't working. So we're gonna make you take a break, and we're gonna allow our body to replenish and to rest. So that's exhaustion. And then when we get into, you know, that feeling of going and going and going leads to cynicism and like being cynical and feel that expression of like why bother? Like, why? It doesn't matter what I do. There's always more work, or it's not good enough. Like, if you're making an impact and you're in this, social justice space, like the burnout can come because of that. Like feeling like you're fighting this huge giant, or whatever industry you're in. If you're trying to make an impact, you want to feel like you're making an impact. That's the whole point, right? And when you're so exhausted because you're just working and working, you start to believe that like it doesn't matter. What's the point? Sorry. What's the point? And so that cynicism is what, separates exhaustion, just being tired, from the burnout, process. And I'll give you an example. Like, I have a friend who was a nurse during the pandemic, and she loves her job. Loves her job, loves being a nurse. She's in the operating room. She's just, she's a badass. And we had a conversation, and it was just, she was sharing with me. She's like, it's like, I don't want to listen to them. I don't care. They're not listening to me. It doesn't matter. And it was it was so out of character. And it was like, oh, okay. Like, she's really burned out. Like, she got to a point where she felt like she didn't care anymore. And like you were saying earlier, like when people want to leave their industry or they want to quit their job, you think about how hard you worked to get there, right? Don't quit, just rest. No, I'm like tagline at the bottom of the screen. No, like we need to remember that that's why like defining burnout is important, because when you hit these certain milestones, like it's going to change how you view the world. It's going to change your perception. So people do want to quit. People do want to leave.
Right.
But that's not always the answer, because you might just have lost that passion, which is part of this phase.
Right.
And then once you're there, if you've been like, okay, what's the point? Like, you will want to leave, or you will, you start, your efficacy starts to be impacted. So like your personal accomplishments, like that sense of
purpose. So
it's like, it's more of like the grounded work. Like, are you accomplishing your tasks? Like, the ball starts to drop, like you forget, you don't care that you forget, you call in sick. So your productivity starts to be affected. And that's where the job can look at you and say, well, you're not being effective.
Meeting the needs,
right? You're not meeting the needs. So, those are the main, there's like 5 to 12 stages of burnout, depending on how deeply you want to go into it. But these are like the 3 key, like, I guess like symptoms or experiences of burnout, where it's classified as burnout versus just being like, really tired or feeling like I'm over it. I don't want to deal with this. It's different when you're just in casual conversation. Like, I'm so burned out by tacos. That would never happen. But,
maybe if you're making them, but
we say it a lot, but it can really affect you. And then, since you're exhausted and your body is shifting and it's like, it takes way more to get going.
Yeah.
And what I teach is resilience. And I think for a while there was that feeling of like, I'm tired of being resilient. Like, I don't want to be resilient. I want to rest. And like this idea of resiliency is like, it's like a rubber band. It's like that stretchiness. And if the rubber band breaks, that's burnout. But if we're resilient, it means that we can bounce back quicker. So if we're not resting in, like giving ourselves that time to recover, then we're pushing ourselves to this limit. So what's going to happen is it's going to take, like, we work this hard, it's going to take this much and more to recover. And that's the resiliency. Like, how resilient are you? If you're very resilient, it means that you can quickly bounce back.
Right.
And again, this is, part of that early childhood development. Like, how were you taught about resiliency? Most of us weren't. Like, were you taught to, take a time out or take some space, or were you just, go to your room or yelled at or something? And it's just, there's so much,
So I want to name something, because you're saying something really, really important here. There's a huge difference, because I when you first say, well, we were not taught resilience, I was like, my brain went to, yeah, we are. We're always taught to keep going, keep going. But this is something really critical, what you're saying. The resilience we were taught as we were younger, which is to push through, keep going, go no matter what. We don't have a choice. You have to always work hard. Is very different than what you're saying. You're saying being in resilience and strengthening your resilience muscle is actually about pausing. It's actually about resting. It's not about pushing through and working hard. This is how, ding, 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 why I started the newsletter, which we'll talk about in a little bit, because it's about reclaiming what resilience really means and not subscribing to this version of resilience that is actually harming us, that is leading us to burnout.
Yes.
So
I will say how I've shaped that is, or I guess reframe that, and to understand and share with you all that the difference between survival and resilience is support, essentially.
Yes.
So when we're in survival, we have to push through. We have to keep going, because who else is going to do it? I'm thinking single moms, single dads, single parents, new parents.
You don't feel like you have a
if
choice.
you don't have that, again, connection, we need that community to come in and watch the baby or cook us a few meals. Like, it's so much in our environment that allows us to either be supported or not. And when we do it on our own, we're surviving. We're making it happen. We're pushing through. And as BIPOC and first gen folks, like, if our parents did the surviving so that we could do the thriving. But yeah,
what a privilege.
Yeah. And we've learned, but we've learned from their behaviors.
Exactly.
And we've adapted the immigrant hustle, grind mentality and practice.
Yeah.
And that's no one's fault. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the balance, right? Like, prioritizing, when do you need to call on that, like, grind mode where you can do it?
Yeah.
And what are you doing after that? How are you replenishing? How are you, creating that restorative, space for yourself
in alignment to you, your body, and your needs. Woo, we keep going back. Oh, I love this. So I'm really sad we're coming to time, because we could talk about this forever. Clearly, as you see, we're really passionate. I see here, Alan, thank you so much for joining us. You say, solid point. Sometimes I feel guilty resting, but it gets to a point where my body just shuts down.
Yes. And that's like so common, and a lot of my clients struggle with this, because that's what we are, I think you mentioned before, like, it's rewarded.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I want to get to.
Yeah.
So thank you, Alan. Thank you for being live with us and sharing that. Again, normalizing that this isn't anything wrong.
Yeah.
This is just how we've been existing. And so before we wrap up, as we always do on these calls, we like to talk about the organization. We each, and because many of the leaders, many folks that are listening are also organizational leaders, and they're like, Nicole, Manuela, this is all great. I agree. I'm exhausted, but how do I do that? Like, what can I do? I'm within an organization, or I'm existing in this way, right? And so we always like to talk about, okay, we always have choice, right? We talked about at the
Mhm.
beginning, we always have a choice, even
Yeah.
when it feels like we don't. Lovingly and respectfully, you do. We do always have a choice. And so when you're in a position as an organization leader, or you're a CEO, or you're cultivate, you have a position in where you can have an influence on the culture that you're
Mhm.
creating within. We all do in some
Mhm.
way. And so when we're in that position, what is it that we can think about and do differently in order to acknowledge everything that we're talking about? People's
Yeah.
different neurodivergence, people's different needs, the
Mhm.
culture, the hustle culture that has been ingrained in us. So
Yeah.
Nicole, let's start off with you. What is your thoughts around what can leaders in a position of power do
Mhm.
for folks that are starting to experience that or come in with these types of thoughts and behaviors?
Thank you for that question. That's a deep, profound, very, like, obviously we all want that systemic change, you know,
Mhm.
we want to work in places that are better. I think it's getting better. I think the thing that we need to focus on is just like truly getting to know your people, your workers, your employees, your team. And I think every leader at every level should really understand who they're working with and like get
Mhm.
to know what, when we say strengths and weaknesses, I think it's like, where can we improve? But what if we started looking at it like, what are you naturally talented at versus
Mm.
what is not your zone of genius? Like,
Mm.
where can we focus the attention so that we're we're supporting people to be in their zone of genius for, you know, for most of their work
Mm.
versus you need to improve in this area. Like,
Mhm.
what if it's just like not your area and you
Mhm.
keep trying to like make it happen?
Mhm.
So I think understanding as a leader, like supporting that person to excel in those places where they do really well.
Mhm.
I think having just broad education on this topic of stress management, and burnout prevention
Mhm.
is important because we need to recognize the signs. And I do a lot of work in survival pattern archetype and how that manifests at work. Being a
Mhm.
perfectionist is a survival pattern archetype. Being a
Mm.
caregiver, like being the, as they call, the yes person, like always
Mm.
doing all, no boundaries, right? Like
Mhm.
these are ways that we try to survive by
Mhm.
creating connection, which from an
Mm.
early on stage is attention, acceptance, approval, love, like that affection. That's
Mhm.
the connection that we want as
Mhm.
children.
Mm.
But as adults, we want to be told, you matter, you're making an impact, thank you. Can I get a thank you, please? Like just
Yeah.
a you know, those
Simple.
simple things. And we're
Yeah.
just like using people to produce and
Mhm.
like, how fast can you do this? And
Mhm.
you know, who's the best, who's the fastest, who's the cheapest? And it's very disconnected from like the actual person. And I think if
Mhm.
we could be a little like a little more go with the flow, a little looser around like roles and responsibilities, like what if this hire is fantastic at XYZ, but they're not super good at this thing? I think a lot of organizations would like fire that person or do
Mhm.
mentoring, and maybe it is a skill that they can take on. I think that's important because we want to expand our skill set and expand our tolerance.
Mhm.
But there's certain things like and this is all from me as like a neurodivergent person. Like
Mhm.
there's some things that I just don't like. I just don't vibe with.
You're not gonna get.
it's
It's
just,
just
yeah,
not
it's
how
just
your brain
not my
works.
thing.
Right.
But there's other things that I'm really good at. So like let me do that really well,
Mhm.
and let's find a partner or counterpart that can do the things that I don't do well.
Mhm.
And if that's part of my original job role, like it's okay because I'm going
Yeah.
to maximize in this particular area. It's
Yeah.
not like a deficit,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's like
I love it. You do know.
it's
You're sharing it.
I think it's the fact that it's like the pie in the sky. It feels so
Hmm.
I want
And
that to be real.
and
But
it is, and
yeah.
and this is the work. This is why our
Yeah.
partnership works really well,
Mhm.
because Nicole brings in this steep level of individual, right? What's in your control? I always go back to what's in your control. As an individual, you always have control of what's in your control, right? As a leader, there's a different sense of responsibility. I work a lot with the systemic, with the organization, the culture. So we're saying all of this, but if an environment does not allow for any of these things to succeed, so what if you're a leader and you want to cultivate this type of culture or this type of team, but your higher ups aren't giving you the tools to be able to maybe bring in a counterpart so you can live in your, what did you call it, zone of genius, and then we bring into someone to do some of the other things to counter that. I mean, y'all, you have seen, I mean, if anyone has worked with organizations on the consulting budgets, people have consulting budgets, all right, but what if we use consulting budgets strategically? So again, we respect and honor the folks that are in the room. And so it is possible, right? And so I know this feels really overwhelming, but it's about step by step, small changes that can make that can make a difference. One thing that I want to call out that's really important that you said, support. Support. I loved you said one, educating folks, normalizing once again why we're doing this conversation, why I love doing the workshops that we do and that I do around having these conversations so people get to know each other and better understand their employees. This is really important. So understanding each other, educating each other, but the support. I'm not saying, we're not telling you here, you're a leader, now you're a manager, congratulations, you made it to this step. You do have a level of responsibility. That's why managers pay more. That's why I always say, yes, managers do need to think about this because this is why you're getting paid more, is to think about these things. And also, you're not a therapist. You're not a coach. I'm not telling you to go out there and now coach all these people and be the therapist for your employees. No, but what can you do? You can hire coaches. You can set aside a certain amount of budget, create a bigger professional development budget, create a wellness employee system and support. So you do have coaches on call. You do have connection to therapists, because once again, the difference between coaches and therapy will diagnose, will work down deep into what is going on maybe in the past, and coaches will help you learn how to manage those symptoms, how to manage that experience, and how to move forward. So which we have to have a whole other conversation on coaching versus therapy, but it's important to have both depending on where people are in their journey. So once again, if you're not even sure where to start, that's a simple way to start. Outsourcing, finding the support that your nervous system needs.
Even just a consultation to like open your eyes to the possibilities. Like that is just one start. And I think that conversation can open the doors to like, oh, I didn't know this was possible. Or, oh, it would just be like a training or, once a month. Like there's so many ways that we can support you and other consultants or coaches can support like at the organizational level. And that's where you are just a shining light.
Oh, thank you. Well, this has been so rich. I mean, we could talk for ages. Clearly, y'all probably can see how passionate we are about this work. And so I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being here. Before we leave, I do ask every single one of our guests this question, and so I'd love for folks to hear your response. But we always end with, living a life con fuerza is about reclaiming our inner strength to live in alignment to our values. How are you choosing to live a life con fuerza, and what does living a life con fuerza mean to you?
Wow, yeah, living a life in alignment with my values. So I think honestly, like just my whole trajectory has taught me what my values are. And I think that part of not just survival, but self-preservation and nourishing your life with people and experiences and education, those things are really important to me, and quality time with people, like that connection. I go back to the safety and connection. I just really focused on building a life that feels safe and that allows for connection. And I've had to sacrifice a lot to pursue this path. my mom and dad didn't really understand like why or what I'm doing. And it was like, it's okay, and I had to take a pay cut, and not having that consistency in money did create some insecurity slash not feeling safe, right? Because we
Mhm.
need that money to come in. So that was just an opportunity for me to learn and work on my money story and work on grounding myself in reality, not in the anxiety of what ifs and, oh my
Mm.
God, am I going to be okay? It's like, no, girl, it's okay. Everything is going to be fine. And like leaning into that trust and grounding experience, like grounding in my own body so that I can respond from a grounded place, so that I
Mm.
can be confident in knowing everything's going to be good and showing up for my clients in that grounded space, no matter what's
Mhm.
going on in my life, whether I'm having a high moment or a low moment. Because
Mhm.
even as a coach, like it's like
Yeah.
we're not like, and I'm not immune to burnout,
Right,
like
right.
I have to manage those things. So yeah, I think maintaining that safety and connection and learning how to manage the stress that comes with
Mm.
everyday living in a
Mhm.
as capitalism is dying and all blah, 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 all that stuff. Like it's so much.
Yeah.
So it's really important for me to have that downtime and that
Mhm.
space where like today I don't think I can work at 9. I'm
Mhm.
gonna do a much slower morning today, or I'm gonna go work on errands. I'm gonna go run errands on a Tuesday. It literally was life changing when I did that. I was like
Mhm.
driving around and I was like, oh my God, it's like Tuesday or Wednesday,
Yes.
because I had been in, that situation where you go into work, it's daytime, and you come out and it's nighttime, and you just don't have
Mhm.
any like social interaction or
Yeah.
no fun. Like, no,
Mhm.
it's just work, 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 work.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a life I've created because I can support not only my neurodivergence, but that need for safety and
Mm.
connection.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a full circle. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. We've had such a great conversation. So, a few things before we leave y'all to your beautiful rest of your Wednesday. As always, we want to remind you that with every conversation, with every space that we create here on Wisdom Wednesdays, there is a page on our leadership and well-being resource library by Confuerza experiences where you can dive deeper into these topics, go deeper. We'll share the HALT resource. Nicole has a bunch of really great resources on the nervous system. One of the best webinars I've ever attended was
Oh
your
yeah.
nervous system webinar. And so we'll share those on there. So definitely go there, check the comments, and I will link those below. I also want to call y'all in I mentioned it briefly. I just started a Leaders Reclaiming Their Resilience newsletter here on LinkedIn.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Where we get to have where we get to get a little bit of reflection around what it means to really be resilient and reclaiming that resilience for ourselves. You'll also be receiving updates about webinars, about resources, about events happening within Conversa and also within our community. So you'll get a little bit of both. So definitely subscribe to that newsletter to stay connected to what else we're doing here at Conversa Experiences. I also want to let folks know one of the biggest programs we have at Conversa Experiences is our Harmonious Raise programs. So as a business strategy consultant and holistic leadership coach, I support people on building everything we're talking about here, building systems, cultures, and way of how you're running either your business or your team in a way that's sustainable. And so the Harmonious Raise program breaks down all the foundation of your business. If you've been for a while thinking about a business goal or been thinking about you've had a business idea and you wanted to start a side hustle, or you've wanted to leave your 9 to 5 and really take the leap of faith to start your own business, I can work with you to build the foundational parts of your business so you can get that clarity and make those questions. And then we work on a sustainable integration of how, once you have the clear of what you want your business to be, the impact you want it to have, how you what your target audience, all that fun stuff, the business jargon, then we think about you and everything that we're talking about here of how to integrate it sustainably to how you function, so we can prevent as much as we can the burnout, getting into that burnout cycle. So I'll be linking that here. I'm accepting new clients for Harmonious Rays and would love to support you on your journey to create beautiful impact in this world sustainably. So super excited. And then last thing, if y'all liked this, which I hope you did, yes, we are really excited to be continuing our partnership in person. So for folks that are joining Peak Graham Mainting's conference this year, Peak 2025, they are hosting their leadership conference in New Orleans on March 24th to 26th.
Yes.
So if you already haven't registered, they might still be open. But if you are,
it's full now.
It's sold out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you haven't, if you already got your tickets and you're going to the conference, please join us. We are one of the breakout sessions. We're going to be talking about this exact topic, how burnout and survival patterns, understanding that, and how to implement it into your cultures and how to support your employees to preventing burnout by knowing your survival patterns.
Yes.
So super excited. So we'll be in New Orleans at the end of March at this conference. If you can't go, then definitely reach out to us. We are going to be having this webinar and this workshop available for organization leaders to bring us into your organization so we can have an in-depth conversation with your teams. And maybe you want to learn more. You're recognizing that the burnout is starting to affect your organization. You want to bring people in to really help folks better understand what burnout really is, how to better identify it, and how leaders can take what's in their control to really support their employees. So we're really excited about this workshop. Let us know if you're interested or know of other leaders or organizations that might be interested by reaching out to us. And then lastly, do you have Nicole, any things of how we can support you? Any events are coming up or programs?
Yes. So I would love to just connect with you if you found this insightful or interesting and possibly supportive. That's the goal. Connect with me on LinkedIn and just, drop me a little comment in the DMs. And I really am looking to build more community and to support you as best as I can. I'm taking one-on-one clients to do this burnout prevention process that I've been working on, and I'm rebuilding my website, so it looks a little crazy right now. I accidentally changed the colors, but I am creating a new offering, and it's going to be a free offering. It's a download that I have. It's called the daily vibe check, so that we can check in every day. And it's 3 simple steps, because if you're nearing burnout or if you're really exhausted, you don't want it to be too much. So it's really, helping people identify what state their nervous system is in, whether they're in fight or flight sympathetic, or whether they're in a dorsal phase, based on the polyvagal theory. And I give you little, tips and solutions to just pick one thing to implement into your daily life. And then you can track your progress, like the basic needs, like how much water are you drinking? Are you getting enough sleep? And focusing on the positive, the glimmers, those things that make you smile, the things that bring you joy, and really focusing on this almost like a gratitude practice, but it's really just noticing the things that move you in a positive way.
Yes.
And then I'm planning a retreat out here in the desert. This is like Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree area. And that's going to be an anger release retreat, and it's called Sacred Rage Retreat.
Yes.
So if you're struggling right now with the environment, the politics,
the anger,
if there's anything that is making you angry, we want to work together. And yeah, so it's really exciting because we're going to learn about anger. We're going to see culturally, like, how has anger played a role or not in your upbringing? Like, and as women, like, we're not really, it's not a cute look. It's not good to be angry. Like, don't be mad. Everyone's like, don't be mad. Don't be mad. Like, no,
you
I
can
am
be
mad.
You're allowed to
I
be
am
mad.
mad. So embodying that and being okay with that and just like building a new relationship with anger, because I think anger can destroy you from the inside, or it can destroy relationships, or it can fuel.
Yes, it's like fire.
That's what it
can
is.
have
It's
both.
a fire energy. Like, we can destroy, or we can,
light a room.
Yes, without burning it down. Sometimes it might. No. It's that feeling of like, we have to use that energy, that anger, because it's emotions are just energy. So if we can use that energy to make an impact, to fuel our passion and our motivation and our drive, and like, it's the reason that we're still doing it, that's good, because now we're transmuting anger from a negative thing to a positive thing. So that's the work we're going to do. And we're also going to smash some shit in the desert. And I have a sledgehammer. I have safety stuff. And it's a process of releasing, because I think a lot of women don't have the opportunity to really get raw and physical with the anger. It's just like, we just suppress it and feel it, and it doesn't come out, or it comes out in the wrong ways with the wrong people at the wrong time. So it's like giving people an outlet to destroy something is very cathartic. But if you've never slammed anything or thrown anything or smashed anything, it's life-changing. It's really, really great. And that's the experience. So I'll have more information on that once we set a date. So if you're interested in that, please let me know, because then I can, shift priorities and like meet the needs of the community a little bit better. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alan. We appreciate your support.
Thank you,
both
Cruz.
of us. Thank you, Mari Cruz, for joining. And thank you, everyone else, for either joining us live or joining us after. Just remember, our bodies are meant to change. Our bodies are meant to heal themselves. Support is absolutely necessary. It is part of our DNA to need safety and connection. And it's absolutely okay for you to ask for it. Yeah. So we deeply appreciate y'all for doing this work, for connecting with us. And we hope to see you so soon. Have a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday, and we'll be here. Have a beautiful day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.